G'day guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're an old hat like this one, welcome back to Season 1, Episode 5. Today, we've got a couple of very cool things to show you, including a brand new invention by a bloke called Linden. Let's introduce him. This is Linden. We're going to show you Linden's invention very shortly, and I know a couple of people have actually been talking about this on some of the gold prospecting forums, so you're going to want to see it. The other person we're out with is Quinton, which is the creator of Linden. Now, Quinton is a legitimate old-timer. He knows what he's doing. He's got all the skills in the world, so I'm expecting big things from him today. Lots of gold and lots of grizzly plates because he's been throwing a stick for him all morning. Right, without further ado, where are we digging and why? This is where we're digging. Now, the reason we're digging over here is quite simple. It has everything going for it. It's on a flat. It's at the widest point of the creek, and it's on an inside bend. And I already found a 0.2 gram nugget there not too long ago. So what we're doing is just trying to find the pay streak and identify where the gold is going so we can hopefully sluice out a good quantity of it today. Linden's just doing one of the test pans that we've got to do to figure out where that pay streak is going. I'm going to join him, and I'm also going to talk to you about the metal pan that I've got. A lot of people are asking questions about some of the pros and cons of using it and how to use it properly, so we'll cover that. Quinton, I like your hat, mate.
Yeah, good.
Quinton's got a great spot. We've got this nice big long straight, but it gets extremely wide here, and then it comes up and hits this sort of inside bend island, and it's covered in grass, and that's basically going to work like a sluice mat. So he's dug through the top layers and got some flood gold, and he's just hit the gravel layer down there, so hopefully there'll be good things from this hole. Like I said, I told you he's an old timer. He knows what he's talking about. He's going to find the mother lode for us. Well, I got a grand total of 1 dot. Linden got a hell of a lot more, but he got clay. I only got surface gravel, so we're going to have to go deeper. Right, our theory. We told you earlier that this is an inside bend and it's got a few things going for it. You might be able to see just here, there's a line, and that line, it looks like about a 1 foot vertical wall that stretches all the way around this corner. And Linden pointed out that actually looks like a bank slump. It looks like this area got undercut and then that whole lot of dirt just dropped. And that line is perfectly in line with where we've got some erosion going on with this part of the bank. And it basically means this: at one stage the water was coming in so fast that it undercut everything here, and it would have pushed all the dirt that had the gold downstream further. So basically we're taking test pans from all in and around here, seeing what spec counts we get, and then we're following that pay streak down, and hopefully we're actually imagining that somewhere around where those big rocks are is possibly where all that dirt got pushed and ended up. Some time ago I came here and I dug out a big hole from this spot and I found some decent gold. However, my sluice was set up in this area and a lot of my tailings will be just here where I was digging. I think that's why I'm not finding too much gold and I'm digging a lot of what looks like sluice tailings. So we're going to take that theory I said before about the bank slump. I'm going to head down there and see if I can't take a test pan and find the gold. Micro flood gold off the top. We've got to go deeper. We added probably about 10 specks to it, very fine flood gold, and I just got a little bit of orange clay on the end of my shovel, which means that we might be on top of the pay layer. A couple more test pans, we might be on top of it. Have a look. I've done about 5 more pans just testing different layers and moving the hole left and right, and basically what I found is very consistent gold hovering at around 4 to 6 specks per pan, all ultra fine. Now there could be a chance that we dig deeper and there's going to be a better pay layer, but I would expect there to be more indicators on the surface. What I'm getting is a lot of quartz, a little bit of black sand, a little bit of ironstone, and only those 4 to 6 specks of gold per pan, and that's not enough to warrant me whacking the sluice. So we're going to keep looking. I'm going to work back behind the camera up to where Linden's working and keep sinking test holes until I find the right indicators, which are a lot of ironstone. That's the #1 thing we're looking for. Lots of ironstone, lots of quartz, and that should mean lots of gold. Well, I got really nice dirt, almost exactly the same as the dirt I was getting in that original test pit, and I got about the same result, about 4 little micro bits, so it's still continuing like that. I've got a feeling it's all been washed away from that undercut. I don't think there's going to be a very big deposit here. I reckon the best spot is right where Linden is sitting. Hello, friend. Linden found a friend. Now, for everyone in America who keeps asking me what a yabby pump is, well, that's a yabby pump and that's a yabby. So we use them to suck them out of the ground. There you go. Explained. If we know that this is the best gold in this area, we could go off and look, but why leave gold to go find gold? I'm going to set the sluice up and I'm just going to put dirt through it and see what we get at the end of the day. I got a ridiculous amount of questions about the metal pan and how to use them and all sorts of things like that, so I thought I'd cover some of the most basic ones and probably the most important ones for you, so if you go out and buy one of these, you're ready to go on the creek. First thing is, just like in the last video, you've got to season it. If you don't season it, it's going to be covered in oil and gold and water just don't mix very well, so make sure you season it. Watch my video from last week and you'll understand how to do that. The next thing you're really going to want to make sure you do is learn how to pan properly, and what I mean by this is taking your time. Modern plastic pans have safety riffles. These don't. This looks like a safety riffle. I'll guarantee you it won't do very much to catch your gold. And those safety riffles mean that you can usually pan faster with a modern plastic pan than what you should be with one of these. And it's for one simple reason, and I'll explain how gold settles in a pan. When most people get taught, they're going to swirl a pan around and around and around to settle the gold to the bottom of the pan. Now, that is correct, you are meant to be settling it, but what you really want to do is take into account something that most people forget, and that the bottom of the pan shouldn't be your bottom of the pan. If you have gold spread out over the whole underside of this pan, it means that when you take dirt off as you angle the pan up, it could take gold off the back edge. And what you really want to be doing is forcing the gold into the true bottom of the pan, which is the front corner, where the bottom of the pan meets the front edge. That is where your gold should be getting trapped. So you have to make sure that instead of swirling it around and around, which is okay for the first time that you do it, but when you start taking dirt off, you really want to be shaking side to side on an angle so all the dirt accumulates, all the heavies accumulate on that front corner. Because you don't have any safety riffles in this pan, you've got to make sure that you shake side to side and that the water doesn't come to the back edge of the dirt in your pan. If it comes to the back edge, what it's going to do is take the gold that's settled over the entire bottom and rip it out off the top. Again, this is all because you don't have safety riffles, and it's especially important to do that when you get down to just the blacks or the heavies in the base of your pan, because that's when you're most likely to lose gold without those safety riffles. So they're the two main things that you want to learn how to do with a metal pan. The other thing I've also discovered is throwing it down on rocks is likely to dent it. You wouldn't think so, but that's definitely something to avoid doing, is just tossing it anywhere, because yeah, it's metal, but it's not as tough as a plastic pan, believe it or not. We're going to talk to you about Linden's invention. A lot of people have been posting up on some of the forums about using flood barriers to run your sluice. Linden's gone through and he's actually made a proper portable flood barrier. Now, I got to test version 1.0 some time ago. It worked beautifully, but you know, there were several little nagging issues. So we've got version 2 for you today. This is the flood barrier. Basically, it's ripstop, or the same stuff you'd have a tent fly made out of. The back edge has got lead weights on it to hold the back edge down. And what this thing's going to do is the water's going to come in over the top of this surface, fill up these little pockets, and the actual weight of water should hold the whole thing down itself. But it will give you 6 inches of height, I believe, in water flow, so you can direct the water wherever you want, or you can set it up across a creek, put your sluice in the middle of it and have the water run through it. Let's show you that now. Let's see if we can get this working. Alright. Now take into account that we're using this in just any old area, but we just dammed up a good 2.5 meter section of this creek over very jagged rocks. It's sitting there without anything on it to stop it going away, just the weight of its own water. And all you have to do now is, if you wanted to run a sluice, you can put the sluice on top of this patch and you've got a rub. Now I can hear some people saying, yeah, but you could just use a tarp. But you can't. Here's the reason why. Even with a tarp, you have to build somewhat of a rock wall structure to lay the tarp over, and then you have to use rocks to hold the tarp down, and so on and so forth. And yes, you could, but this we just dumped straight in the creek. You don't have to do anything to get it to work. And the great thing about it is, because it self-fills, you can create dams in rivers that have very, very minimal flow. So if you're talking about a creek that only has maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 liters a minute go down it, very, very tiny, eventually, if you lay this across it, it will fill an entire area up, so you have a huge backlog of water to sluice with. It's absolutely fantastic, Linden. Good work! The other thing that you can do with this is only use sections of it. So this is actually 4 meters long, which means you can roll it out over quite an extensive area. But if you only need to direct water, you could roll some of it up, like we're going to do now, and use just a portion of it to funnel that water where you want it to go, and that way you can get the correct height. So instead of having a 4-foot hole over there where you can actually let some water out and just get a little bit more water in my sluice, The last benefit is when you're done, it's tiny. Because it's made out of tent material, it's just going to compact up to almost nothing. So you get a 4-meter dam that's probably the same size as...
Rain poncho.
A rain poncho, there you go. I've run about 50 shovels out of that, maybe a little bit less, 30 to 50 shovels, somewhere in that range. Put it down the crock and I've seen some gold go down there. At the best, I've seen about 15 to 20 pieces of gold run down that sluice, and at worst, maybe 3 or 4. There's definitely an awesome layer of clay and gold and ironstone. In fact, so much so that one of the shovels I put down there was nothing but ironstone on one side of the sluice. It was absolutely ridiculous. I just saw a sapphire in my pan. That's very exciting. I'm pretty sure it was a sapphire. We'll find out. I'm going to do something a little bit different for this cleanup. Now, metal pans and doing a sluice cleanup could take me a very long time. So instead, I'm going to use the Gold Claw Pocket Pan, which I reckon is the #1 cleanup pan on the market at the moment. There's a lot of ultra fine, proper flour. So much black sand, I'm getting impatient. I can't be bothered getting rid of it all. But there we go. Lots of ultra fine up in that top corner, and some nice bigger bits. About a 50 or so shovel run. Look, it's not the best spot. It's definitely not the best spot, but it's one of these spots that if you work quantity, you'd end up with a really decent amount of gold. I've probably got maybe a 0.1 in my pan at the moment. And the pay streak is sitting on this really sort of right between orange and grey clay where it meets. If I could just follow that, I might have a good chance of getting some decent gold for that. I'm not going to stop, I'm going to continue. I've got to look in the other pan too and see if there was that sapphire in there. I did get a sapphire. Have a look at this. Right? Meow. I'll try and get a nice photo of that so you can see it. A little bit earlier in the day I pulled up what looks to be possibly an old mercury jar, very heavy bottomed. I love it. It's a relic. We've got the first decent relic of the day. Round 2. You may have noticed me cleaning out the grizzly bars on the front of my sluice, and that's simply because I've actually leveled the sluice out a little bit to make sure that I'm catching a lot of that fine mustard gold that's going down the sluice that we got in the first run. There is a chance when you run a hot sluice with lots of water flow that the water flow itself will actually push particles of gold and clay that are stuck together, or rocks that have got gold trapped in the crevices over and out of your sluice, so you don't want that. Even though we caught a lot of it, we're not guaranteed to be catching all of it. So again, running a sluice that's a little bit flatter and not as hot can really benefit you in the recovery of ultrafine gold. Well, I've pushed through probably 20 or so shovels and I am feeling it. I'm actually really tired because I went roller skating last night for the first time since I was about 8, and it took a toll on me. You don't realize how fit you are when you're an 8-year-old roller skating and skateboarding and bike riding absolutely everywhere, compared to now where you're just a dilapidated prospector that sits on his porch and has to like cackle at people walking past and talk about gold in Denver Hills. There's not much fitness involved in that. So I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to take that sluice, I got to put it in my pan, and we're going to find out how much gold we got so we can finally give my legs a rest. Well, I didn't do nearly as many shovels, probably between 15 and 20 shovels total on that run, but I only worked the layer between the grey and the orange clay, and I found a lot of flood gold, a lot of that ultra-fine mustardy gold. So for less shovels, I pulled about half the amount of gold as what I got on the first run, which is pretty good. And there we have it. Most of that is ultra fine gold that's all clumped up together. So you can see that we pulled out a decent amount of flood gold for a very short run. And whilst it's not a king deposit, it's not the best deposit that you're going to find on this creek. It shows you that identifying the correct layer can see you get a lot more gold than if you just dig a deep hole. Gold isn't necessarily deeper. It sits in layers depending on how it was actually put down the creek. So was it from a flood? Was it from a bushfire? Was it because of a bank collapse? These are questions you have to identify and then answer to get the right gold. This is the total gold we got today out of this hole, including a sapphire and a little specimen there that you're not going to be able to see on camera. I'll try and get a good photo of that for you at the end. That isn't too bad. I know this isn't the best gold I've ever pulled out on the creek. In fact, just down the way a little bit, I pulled out 2 grams in 12 pans. I mean, that was a stonking day. But this is the first spot we checked. We've had a little bit of luck here before, and we know that we're somewhere near a pay streak. We have to be somewhere near it because of the gold I pulled out here beforehand. It could even be under the bank slump that I'm currently standing on. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time to figure out where it is. I'm going to go walk downstream and find where Linden and Quinton have got to see if their crevice has paid out for them. But in the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye because I've had a great day, but my legs are jelly after rollerblading all night. So without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out all this gold. See you Friday. Peace, and I'm out.